Nathan, there's a Chinese saying, may you live in interesting times. And we are indeed living in interesting automotive times. Because, as you know, recently, Tesla just unveiled their all-purpose, their all-wheel drive crossover, the Model Y. And I think it's going to sell like hotcakes.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong.
I take it you disagree with me.
I do disagree with you.
All right, before we have this argument, I think we need to kind of define and show what the vehicle is. So, Mike, take it away, please.
Thank you guys. Here's everything that Elon has told us thus far. So what is the Model Y? Well, it's basically the smaller crossover in Tesla's lineup. Think of it like a bigger lifted version of the Model 3. It was unveiled on March 14th at Tesla's LA Design Studio alongside the rest of Tesla's model lineup. This is their fourth mass market model after the Model S, Model X, and Model 3. We're not including the Roadster in that list because it's going to be very limited compared to the other models that they are making. Here's what we know so far. Like I said, it sits below the Model X in their lineup, but it looks a lot more like the Model 3 than it does the Model X. The Model Y is about 10% larger than the Model 3 according to Elon Musk, and it can seat up to 7 passengers, but that third row of seats is optional and it's going to cost you $3,000. Just keep that in mind. When will it be available? Well, sales are going to start, according to Tesla, in the fall of 2020, and the first models that will be available during that time are the long range, the dual motor, and the performance model. Those will be the first ones to come out in the fall of 2020. The standard range, or the base model, Model Y, is not coming until the spring of 2021, at least as the plan stands right now. Tesla plans to produce the Model Y in a number of regions across the globe, actually. The ones for the US market will be built here in the US at the Reno Gigafactory. The Chinese market Model Ys will be built at the Shanghai Gigafactory, and Europe will have its own production plant where they will build their Model Ys. As with the Model 3, the Model Y offers autopilot as an option. That'll cost you $3,000, and you can have self-driving capability software upgrades for $5,000. Really quickly, let's talk about the pricing differences between all of the different versions of the Model Y, because it starts at a pretty inexpensive price tag, but like a lot of Teslas, you can build your way up to a pretty high dollar amount very quickly. The standard range is the entry-level Model Y. It has 230 miles of range, a 5.9 second 0 to 60 time, and a top speed of 120 miles per hour. For that standard range Model Y, you have a starting price of $39,000, which Elon said that it's going to be 10% larger than the Model 3. It's also 10% more expensive, at least in terms of base price. Move up to the long-range Model Y and you have more range. Makes sense, right? 300 miles of range this time, a slightly quicker 0 to 60 of 5.5 seconds, and a slightly higher top speed of 130 miles per hour. Starting price for the long-range Model Y, $47,000, at least according to Tesla's configurator online. Next we have the dual motor, which means it's all-wheel drive. This has a little bit less range than the long-range version, 280 miles of total range, but a quicker 0 to 60 time of 4.8 seconds, and once again a slightly higher top speed of 135 miles per hour. Starting price for the dual motor all-wheel drive Model Y, $51,000, again according to the configurator. Last but not least, the top dog Model Y, the performance model. This has a similar range to the dual motor all-wheel drive, 280 miles, but by far the quickest 0 to 60 time of 3.5 seconds. 150 miles per hour is your top speed, which is a solid bump from the dual motor all-wheel drive, and the price tag sees a similar jump as well, $60,000 starting MSRP. Just like the Model 3, the Model Y has a number of different options, and they're very similar and somewhat limited actually. You basically have your choice of paint or wheels, and like I said, you can get the third row autopilot and self-driving capability. The paint options, well, black is a no-cost option. That's the free paint option. You can have your choice of silver or blue for $1,500. The white paint color is $2,000, and red is the most expensive at $2,500. On every trim but the performance trim, you have the option of 19-inch sport wheels, and those will cost you $1,500. The performance model comes standard with 20-inch performance wheels.
So basically the thing looks like a taller, bigger version of the Model 3, right?
Yeah, it looks like they put an air hose to it when it just kind of like blew it up, and apparently 10% larger.
Yeah, Tommy calls it the Model 3 a catfish, so this is like the XL catfish.
Yeah, it still looks like the Model 3. I don't think it's ugly, by the way. I just think it's a little bit bigger and kind of bolsterous.
Yeah, I think it's right down the middle. It's very conservative.
Yeah.
They weren't gonna, make a lot of changes because changes potentially mean people won't buy it. And let's face it, the Model 3 is selling like hotcakes, right? It is outselling every other luxury car in its segment.
The Model Y has a major problem.
What is that?
Tesla's tendency to not sell cars on time.
Are you referring to the fact that the Model 3 came like 30 years after it was announced? At least feels like that, doesn't it?
It does. Now look, I know a lot of fanboys are out there going, oh my God, it's going to sell like crazy, but you guys are forgetting something very, very important. This vehicle is going to come along at the same time that vehicles from Volkswagen, from Jaguar, from Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Chevrolet, Ford are going to be hitting the market, and they're going to hit it hard. And because of that, I think the Model Y is going to be out of time.
I would agree with you, but you make a very good point, Nathan. And in fact, you make my point, and that is the major car manufacturers are just not getting seriously into the game, right? Remember when we drove the Roadster? How long ago was that, dude?
Almost 10 years ago.
10 years ago. That was like a shot across the bow to every major car manufacturer. And since then, what kind of electric cars have they come out with? These bull, blah, blah, blah compliance cars, right? That barely had 100 miles, right? The very first Leaf could barely get you like...
Early on, I agree, they were sucking wind, but they got better.
And then the next generation were, they could go, let's say 100, but they only sold in California.
Some did, but they're improving.
And let me take this to the conclusion.
Okay.
And right now, okay, what are the major car manufacturer electric cars that you could buy in the entire country? Not California compliance car. I'm talking about cars you can buy across the entire country. Let me go through them because I can name them in probably in one hand, right?
Okay, go for it.
The Leaf,
Yes.
which 10 years and finally has a range of over 200 miles. It took Nissan 10 years to get over 200 miles.
Okay.
When the Tesla Roadster had 250 10 years ago, right? And what is a Leaf? It's a tiny little weird front-wheel drive kind of crossover.
It's a little hatchback.
It's not an American car. It may work in European roads. It does not work in America. It's like a good third car. It's a good car for your daughter.
Fair enough.
Right.
Okay, keep going.
All right? The Chevy Bolt.
Yes.
Pretty much a Leaf with a better and bigger battery.
Yeah, it's a better car altogether.
Right. But still, it's taller than it is wider. It's pretty ungainly. Right? It's like you wouldn't look twice if you saw a Bolt drive. In fact, I got to tell you, when it rolled out in Detroit, I was there. I thought they were joking. Right? I literally thought that they were pulling a prank because I'm like, this is your electric car?
I thought it was a great first car. It wasn't as cool and as sexy as a lot of the other concepts that are out there, but it got the job done, and it's selling.
So sort of, kind of.
Sort of, kind of.
Right, so that's two you can buy in the entire country.
Right.
You could buy the BMW i3,
Yes.
which is sort of kind of an electric car because most people buy it with the range extender.
Right.
Once again, taller than it is wider.
It's an unusual car. I'll give you
Not
that.
very sexy.
Not very sexy.
And now, finally, the Jaguar I-Pace.
Now, tell me you don't love that car. Lie to me and say you don't like that car.
It's expensive. And
so was a Tesla.
It's expensive and it's having a hard time penetrating the market. It really is. I thought it would do better than it is, but it's here's the feeling. Or here's the thing. You need this is my theory. You need three things to make an electric car. And because when you think about it, what is an electric car? An electric car is the car of the future, right? So the people who are buying into the Tesla dream are buying the car of the future, just like people who buy these at one point, right? We're buying the computer of the future. So here are the three things you need. It has to be all electric.
Yes.
Can't be hybrid.
Right.
It can't have any gas that's being burned, okay?
Fair enough.
Number two, it has to be futuristic, and that means it has to break every convention in car design, right? So it can have four wheels, but like it's got to have a giant iPad for control. It's got to have door handles that come in and out, right? It's got to do all that because you want to feel like you're driving the future, not like the past.
Okay.
And it's got to have autonomy because electric cars and autonomy have somehow become married together, and so it's got to be autonomous. And which of those cars that I mentioned, except for the Tesla products, has all three of those. Only Tesla.
Get it.
Right? And that's why the Model Y will sell like hotcakes, because people are going to think that is the future. And let's talk about the cars that are coming, right? All right.
Let's do that.
All right. I was at the unveiling of the e-tron. You know what it looks like.
Yeah.
It's a big ass crossover.
Yeah.
Does it feel like the future to you?
Kind of. I think it's cool.
Dude, it could have been a car that Audi designed 10 years ago. And you know I'm right about that.
Yeah, okay, the design is a little bit on the dated side, but I think it's a pretty decent looking car.
Okay. Let's talk about the Mercedes.
Okay.
Have you seen that car?
Yes, I have.
It's a big ass crossover.
Yeah, that one is not as attractive. I think Mercedes kind of dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah, so what part of those three magic things do these cars have?
You're forgetting
They're
one.
all electric, one of the three.
What about the Porsche?
The Porsche has the closest to that. It's actually got orders.
Yeah, and it's damn sexy, it's fast, it's got all of the gizmos, and it's a Porsche.
But it's not going to sell in high numbers, right?
No, it's not, but neither. Okay, keep going.
Right, it's just not going to have it. The only one that actually feels like the car of the future is the Audi e-tron GT that's coming.
The GT is really.
That one I saw in LA, I was absolutely floored by it.
Yeah.
But that should have been here last year.
Yeah, those are the sexy cars. However, you're missing a segment. Okay, you've got the basic cars like the Nissan Leaf and the Chevy Bolt. Then you've got the really high-end ones. But there's this huge subsection in between, right?
Okay.
And that's where the Y is probably going to
You just
inhabit.
made my point.
Well, here
It's
we
going to
are.
sell like hotcakes.
Yeah. See, there's this other company that's one of the largest in the world,
Right.
named Volkswagen.
Right.
Now, Volkswagen has billions and billions of dollars invested in electric vehicles. Now, granted, you guys haven't seen anything on the roads yet. However,
Except for the e-Golf.
the e-Golf. So, in the very near future, within the next few months, you're going to start seeing the ID Buzz van.
Yeah.
You're going to see their crossover, which is a pretty good-looking vehicle if they stay true to what the image was like. And eventually, there's going to be a sedan, and there's going to be a bunch of other vehicles. They will be affordable.
Yeah.
They will be fairly reliable. And unlike a lot of the Tesla components out there, they'll actually stay on the car.
Which reminds me, and I give you that, there's a fourth thing that you need to have a successful electric car, and that is a national charging network.
Yes.
Right? And
yes.
Tesla has it, and Volkswagen might have it, right? Because of their Dieselgate, they're being
They've
forced.
been putting billions into an
They're forced to
infrastructure.
invest billions into it, so
Yes.
they might have it. But right now, if you actually wanted to drive anything but a Tesla across country, you would have a very hard time doing it. I was talking to a guy who drove a motorcycle, which doesn't use a big battery,
Yeah.
across the whole country. He had an incredibly hard time charging it. You know how he had to do it? He had to go like to RV parks and use the RV hookup.
Right.
That was the only way he could get across the whole country actually to charge it up. Because he said oftentimes, like, you know, you've got the little app that shows you where the charging stations are.
Right.
Right. Some of them are like one charging. They're not a
Yeah.
station. It's a one charger, and
Or
there's
they're not working.
and there's a truck parked in front of
Yeah.
it. Or you go to like a dealership. He said in some of the dealerships they actually limit you how much electricity you can actually use, and so
Yeah.
they'll stop you like at 5 gallons of gas. They'll stop you at whatever kilowatt hours. So
Right.
So that network is probably Tesla's trump card, right? Because they are the only ones that have invested in that to actually make it usable across the country as a primary car. And I think that's why, I agree, they're going to be late, right? And they're going to be expensive.
Yeah.
And the quality is going to be questionable.
Yes.
But they're still going to sell like hotcakes. Let's face it, there's some really good electric cars, right?
Yeah.
The Kona EV is
fantastic.
it's a fantastic car. Can you buy it in Colorado?
Not yet, but soon.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I know. It's difficult. Midwest countries.
Yeah.
Midwest states are having a hard time in general getting electric vehicles.
Yeah,
and I feel
only the states, around the.
there is a reason for that, though. And
Yes.
part of that has to do with the fact that there's an infrastructure for those cars, so it's fairly easy to hook them up and get them going.
Yeah, the reason is traditional car manufacturers have not yet doubled down or even really singled down on actually getting into the electric car market. They just have not committed to it, and I think it's long past due for those guys to actually start taking it seriously.
And you got to look at it this way, though. A lot of them started investing in it. A lot of them did. Ford did with Volkswagen. They actually have some partnerships going on. But then they realized gas prices are really cheap right now. EPA is not really pushing us like they
Short-sighted.
used to. So they've mellowed out on their plans. They're still all out there. All of them have an electric vehicle, at least one, that's about to come out within the next year. Okay, so they're going to hit the market. You're right. The infrastructure isn't quite
How did
there.
the C-Max go?
The C-Max was not an electric car, though. It was a plug-in hybrid. That was one of the versions of it. Ford is investing a lot of money in electrification. A lot of money. They all are. I think that what's happening right now is we're in this lull between things right now. So you have a couple cars that popped out, and they're not too bad. You have a lot of Teslas, which performance-wise are fantastic, but they have reliability issues. They've had some build issues, cold temperature issues, which is a major problem, by the way, especially because we're in cold country.
And
right?
let's face it, they've also had issues with actually staying in business.
In business, yeah. I mean, let's face it, there's some problems out there.
They just fired their
ton of people.
Yeah, Tesla manages the same business.
Yeah,
they will sell like hotcakes.
Well, the Model Y is coming out at the same time, once again, as all these other vehicles, and I think that that's going to hurt them if they're late. So if Tesla's not late, if they're on time with their prediction, then yes, they might be able to sell a ton of them. But if they're late, and if they make people wait.
Are you saying you actually maybe agree with me a little bit?
Partially agreeing with you there. Look, Tesla has been fighting really hard, and they've been holding on a lot longer than people expected. And frankly speaking, I'm amazed at their ability to stay in business. But more importantly,
like a cat.
Yeah, they're like a cat, but they built some interesting cars, and they're fast, and they handle well. And for the most part, with only a few minor exceptions, they're fairly safe.
Well, Nathan, I was going to say no, you're wrong, but maybe you are right.
It's really, this one's a tough one. It really is. What do you guys think?
Yeah, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to get your opinion. And as always, this is Roman.
And Nathan.
Saying thanks for watching. Remember, check out tflcar.com for more news, views, and of course, know you're wrong or maybe right.
You might possibly be right, but right now you're wrong.
All right, reviews. See you guys next time. Ciao.
Bye, guys.